Today's movie is a very fun real story. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, and let's go. Today's story took place in 1942 during World War II. Three U.S. Army pilots, Commander Dixon and his associates Tony and Jean, were going on a special mission to Japan. After a period of takeoff, they did not find the ship on which they would land after completing the mission. Unfortunately, Jean told them that contact with headquarters had been cut off. The plane's gasoline was nearing completion, so Tony decided to throw their bombs into the sea in order to lose weight on the plane. They tried again to call the command, but failed to, so Commander Dixon thought it was better to land on the ocean than to run out of gas and get in big trouble. He ordered them to take food and maps and get ready to land. Dixon threw the lifeboat into the ocean, but Tony and Jean couldn't untie their seatbelts. At the last moment before drowning, they managed to untie their seatbelts, but unfortunately they threw the food bags and swam towards the boat, which was upside down. They tied their things in it and flipped it hard, and then got into it, and they were feeling very cold, but they slept from the intensity of the fatigue without feeling. In the morning, they woke up and talked to each other, but they did not understand how they got lost. Commander Dixon ordered them to look in all directions in the hope that they would glimpse a plane that would save them. After many hours, one of the planes appeared, and they were very happy. Dixon ordered them to use their light signals, but he was shocked when they told him that it fell into the ocean. They took off their clothes and kept moving them in order for the cabin crew to see them and rescue them, but unfortunately no one saw them and the plane flew away. Dixon told them that this opportunity was their only one because they were in a war and would never go out again to search for three missing pilots, because the law of war says that the rescue plane comes out only once to search and will not go out again. Then he ordered them to take out the food they brought with them, but told him they threw out the food bags that were heavy in order to save themselves from drowning. Dixon got angry with them because they didn't execute his orders, but he soon calmed down. Then he told them to put everything they carry with them so that they may find something that will benefit them, but unfortunately they didn't have anything important. Then he ordered them to take off their shoes and throw them into the ocean in order to lighten the weight on the boat. They carried out his orders. He also took off his shoes, but he hesitated and did not throw it into the ocean. They were upset by him, but he told them he would keep it and they might need it later. Hours passed and they were in that state. There was no around them other than the water and the hot sun. The night was solved and the cold was bitter. They decided to sleep, but provided that one stayed awake in order to see any plane passing over them or anything that could help them. Each of them felt guilty because it could be he who miscalculated distances and trends during flight. On the second morning they were feeling very hungry. Jean decided to fish. They took out the ropes and the wires they had and made a hook. They threw it in the water and waited so long. Suddenly the hook started pulling. Tony helped Jean take it out, but the hook was torn apart because the fish that ate the bait was so big, so they feared because they could be around them sharks. Jean didn't give up. He made another hook, but unfortunately he didn't catch anything. Jean was disturbed by the heat of the sun, so he wore a life jacket and threw himself into the water in order to relieve his body heat. Tony also wanted to swim, but Commander Dixon told him it was incorrect to go down at once. He told him, "When Jean comes back you can go down. If there's a problem we can help each other, because the ocean is not safe and we don't know what's down there." Jean heard his word, so he quickly returned to the boat because he didn't want to have any trouble. The days passed and they were in the same situation. Dixon asked them if one of them had miscalculated distances and trends and had caused what they were, but Jean and Tony denied that they had done anything wrong. On the fifth day, they were so thirsty that Tony wanted to drink from the ocean water, but Commander Dixon stopped him because the salty water would make him thirstier and it will affect his body and brain. Jean tried to calm him down and told him that they would surely find some way to survive. Suddenly Dixon took a pen out of his pocket and was very happy. He told them that he would determine the direction of the wind in order to reach the nearest island. He started drawing the map and knew that the wind was reversing their direction, so he tied the life jacket and threw it into the ocean. By doing so, he could change the boat's direction towards the wind, and they felt there was hope for their survival. Then they started praying that the rain would come down in order to drink and complement their struggle. Indeed, the rain came down at night. They drank and stored some water in the bags they had. The next morning, they tried to hunt again, but without benefit. Jean used the knife that was in his pocket and started hitting the water without focus due to lack of eating. Dixon warned him that he could rip the boat apart, then they would sink and die. But Jean did not pay attention to his words and continued to hit the water until the blow came in a shark that passed by the boat. They grabbed her and held her tightly so she wouldn't run away from them. They ate them until they were full and stored some of them in their socks in order to eat them in the coming period. Then they cleaned the boat of the fish's blood and threw it in the water. But this was a big mistake because the sharks smelled blood and gathered around the boat, which made the pilots freak out. Anyway, it was dark and they were asleep. Jean saw in the dream everything that happened to them in the plane and woke up appalled. He put his hands in the ocean to wash his face to get refreshed. He forgot that the sharks hovered next to the boat. Suddenly, he was bitten by a shark. Fortunately, the fish was small. Tony woke up freaked out and wrapped a cloth on his friend's wound. The days passed. It ended all the water and food that was with the pilots. Fortunately for them, it rained again on the 15th day. They drank and stored water. The pilots lost hope of surviving. Jean was holding a pistol and he had negative thoughts like suicide, but his friend Tony calmed him down and then took the pistol from him. At this moment Tony saw a bird landing on the boat. He shot and injured him. The bird fell into the water. Dixon woke up terrified of the sound of the shooting and then went down to the ocean in order to bring the bird. But unfortunately he was chased by a big shark, and at the last minute Jean and Tony were able to help him. Dixon got on the boat again after he brought the bird. Everyone ate the bird's meat and every one of them imagined himself eating his favorite dish. Then Jean saw that the pistol had been smashed and threw it into the weight. Anyway, it's night. A big shark has been hovering around the boat for a long time, but at last it moved away from the boat and friends felt safe. 20 days have passed and they are in the same condition. Dixon woke up and found his two friends asleep and none of them watching the planes like what they agreed. He was so angry at them, but Jean didn't shut up. He told him, "There is no point in aircraft surveillance because certainly everyone forgot about us and no one is looking for us." Dixon responded to it, "I'm the commander here and you have to execute my orders." Jean told him, "We carried out your orders and used your map, but it didn't take us to any island as you told us." Dixon said to him, "We should have arrived on the island 4 days ago, but I don't know what happened." Jean told him, "Your whole world is based on fantasies and assumptions." And at this moment, my friends, Dixon remembered all that happened while flying. He told them, "My eyes fell asleep while flying, and I slept for about 2 minutes, and I certainly didn't hear your guidance in this period, which caused us to get lost and get out of the specific field of aviation." Dixon apologized to his two friends and was feeling guilty. Jean looked at him and he then told him, "I know this map could be wrong, but we have no other solution. We have to keep using it, so it can be a reason for our survival." Dixon got excited and tore his boots like oarsmen. They used the shoes to paddle in order for the boat to walk faster. The pilot strayed into this condition until the 30th day. They were without food and no drink, and their bodies started to weaken. They were completely unable to move. But lucky for them, the sky rained again and they drank from its water, and then stored a few of it. But unfortunately, there was a strong storm that made Captain Dixon fall from the boat. Jean and Tony helped him, but the storm was very strong and the sea waves were high. Suddenly a high wave turned the boat upside down, and all the stuff fell down. Even the rainwater they stored was lost from them. It is true that they were deeply saddened but never despaired. They helped each other and got on the boat again, but they got too tired and slept without feeling. The next morning, the storm subsided, but the friends got tired. They were talking to each other without their bodies moving. They began to imagine that they were going to die and were perplexed over their bodies. What will happen to her? Maybe they'll be fish food. They started missing their family and friends who had never seen them again. Tony overcame himself and got up again, told his friends that they had overcome problems and should not give up until the last day of their lives. He gave them hope when he used his hand to row, so they did the same, and they rowed. But they were so tired they had not eaten or drank for so long. Dixon had to drink the salty ocean water. He had warned Tony not to drink it days before, but he couldn't stand his thirst. Suddenly, my friends, Jean looked forward and saw trees from afar. He asked his friends to look too, in order to make sure that he didn't imagine. Dixon and Tony looked and made sure that they got to an island and screamed with great joy. They couldn't believe that they were going to survive and start rowing with all their strength to get to the island. Fortunately, a large wave came and threw them on the island's beach. They saw 2 wood cottages and started helping each other walk towards the cottages. They got there, and they were rescued after 34 days of suffering in the middle of the ocean. I hope the story is liked. You can see more if you want, but don't forget to encourage us by clicking the like button and subscribing to the channel. Goodbye.